Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Flash Lead Meteorologist Dave Downey. This is the Friday afternoon update on what is now Tropical Storm Melissa and what is soon to be, probably Saturday, Hurricane Melissa. This is shaping up to be a life-threatening, potentially historic storm for some in the Caribbean, especially in Jamaica. This has all the makings of a devastating impact in Jamaica. Let's walk through what we expect out of Melissa, track and intensity over the next 5 to 7 days. Rainfall, that is going to be the main story with Melissa because of its very slow motion. First of all, let's show you where it is in the Atlantic right now. You see it over my right shoulder, but here's the current still satellite image. It's starting to get that look. It's just southeast of Jamaica. Here is Jamaica right here. Here's the southwestern tip of Haiti near the top of your screen. This is a still image, but you see the loop over, again, my right shoulder. This is starting to have all the makings of what's going to be an intensifying hurricane, a likely major hurricane by Sunday night into Monday. Hurricane hunters were in the storm earlier, found it strengthening and actually moving a bit to the east here. Saw a central pressure of 998 millibars. When that number drops, that means the strength is increasing and the wind speeds are also increasing. It's not moving a whole heck of a lot, and we're going to see that continue over the next 24 hours or so. There's another recon flight that's scheduled to head in there in about a half an hour, and the Hurricane Center, the Air Force Reconnaissance Division, and NOAA, they're all sending all hands on deck to this storm at least every 6 hours. Recon flights going into Melissa to examine its structure. Here is why Melissa is primed to strengthen likely rapidly over the next 2 or 3 days. Right now, it's again just to the southeast of Jamaica. This is the hottest ocean water in the Caribbean and maybe in the northern hemisphere right now in the Caribbean Sea, just south of Jamaica. And not only that, not only is it hot on the surface, we're seeing SSTs, which is sea surface temperatures, upwards of 30 degrees Celsius, well into the 80s Fahrenheit, close to 90 Fahrenheit. But how about the subsurface, the depth of the warm water? Sometimes when these hurricanes stay over the same areas and just churn the water up, that way the storm can lose its source of fuel. But there's so much depth in the warmth of the water in the Caribbean. All of these hot reds, hot whites in the Caribbean means the water is very warm, not just on the surface, but 50 to upwards of 100 feet below the surface. October and November, the busiest times of the year usually for Caribbean activity because of this. Usually the Caribbean, this part of it, is the hottest this time of the year, and especially anywhere in the Atlantic, the Caribbean, or the Gulf. Let's take you through what we expect out of Melissa over the next several days. We're going to show you the European model. The GFS American model has done the worst by far with this storm and had it making landfall over Haiti today, a couple of days ago. That is not happening. So the American model, its operational run at least, can be thrown out. Its ensemble has done a little bit better, but the European has been very, very consistent on its solution with Melissa through next week and its ultimate track. So today into the weekend, slow strengthening. I'll put on surface pressures here. It's pretty close. This is as of this morning at 10 a.m. So this is looking back in time at 10:03 millibars. It's strengthening trend over the next couple of days, not a whole lot. By tomorrow morning, only dropping a few millibars to 995. But then by the time we get to Sunday morning, look at this. This is 7 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday, drop to 967. Again, the lower that central pressure number, the stronger the storm at this point. This is probably a Category 2 hurricane. Doesn't do a ton of strengthening on Sunday, but by the time you wake up Monday morning, 950 millibars at 10 a.m. Eastern time Monday morning. That's approaching major hurricane strength. And the European model, these global models with not a very fine resolution, a 1/10 of a degree in resolution means it has to run over kind of a wider grid space. You don't really see intense hurricanes on these globally run models, but still, you get a central pressure down to 939 Tuesday afternoon. which is about the time the Euro has a landfall on the island of Jamaica, Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday evening, and then a second landfall into eastern Cuba. This would be Wednesday afternoon. I do want to show you the hurricane models. Let's show you the HAFS B hurricane model. You're going to see a lower pressure with this one, but a very similar track. I think the HAFS gets this down to 907 for a central pressure. That is a Category 5 hurricane. Winds, I'm sure we're talking 180 plus here. 150 sustained, or this is peak gust, and then a landfall right in the center of the island of Jamaica. The HAFS B with a very similar solution as well. I'll show you the European ensemble. We showed you this a few days ago, shows the degree of uncertainty, the probability of a hurricane strike, or really the confidence in the forecast at a certain lead time. This is 51 different runs of the future. This is Sunday morning at 11 a.m. here. A decent agreement of the storm likely being southwest of Jamaica, a good amount of clustering there. And then we'll take this into Monday. This is Monday evening, 5 p.m. Eastern Monday evening. A little bit more spread. I think you can discount these outliers north and east and south and west. So you're left with this batch of solutions right here, which does make sense if you look at the ensemble mean. That is exactly where the ensemble mean is here on Monday evening. So good agreement here amongst the various computer models of the storm being just southwest of Jamaica Monday evening. And then the question is, how quickly north and then northeast does it move towards the island? Most members do have an eventual landfall sometime during the day, Tuesday morning. This is Tuesday afternoon into the evening. This is 5 p.m. on Tuesday, before an eventual jump to the northeast, thanks to what will be a cold front, a big-time cold front, moving across the East Coast. Next weekend, you can see the upper level low here across the Tennessee Valley. This cold front's going to extend well into the Gulf, but this is what's going to grab Melissa and kind of jump it off to the northeast here. Here's what's left of Melissa as it goes over Cuba. Cuba's got to watch this. The Turks and Caicos has to watch this. And the Bahamas have to watch this as well, because while the first landfall will likely be in Jamaica on Tuesday, maybe into early Wednesday, there's going to be another landfall in Cuba, potentially the southern Bahamas, and maybe as far east as the Turks and Caicos, Wednesday into Thursday. The official forecast from the Hurricane Center has not changed a whole lot in the past couple of days. A hurricane watch and tropical storm warning up for the island of Jamaica. Same story, hurricane watch, tropical storm warning still for the southern coast of Haiti. I would expect a hurricane warning to be issued for Jamaica at some point this weekend. You can see the Hurricane Center has it turning into a major hurricane, a Cat 3, 110 plus mile per hour winds at some point during the day on Sunday, which would make sense. We showed you the hurricane models. This has, I think, a very good chance of becoming a Category 5 hurricane because we showed you those ocean temperatures, the depth of the warm water, and really the prime atmosphere this is going to be in. A hurricane in a lot of ways is a steam engine or an engine. It needs an input, gas, fuel, like a car engine, and then it needs an exhaust. And it is going to have an exhaust next week. It is going to be in a, this is just, you got a upper level high pressure just to the west here, but still not much wind shear at all. That is what kind of held it back from strengthening early this week. There's still a good amount of wind shear here just to the west of the system today, but watch those colors diminish as we head into the weekend. It kind of filters its own environment, and it's going to be allowed to rapidly intensify before it feels the strength of this trough moving across the eastern coast, and then it'll be jumped up to the northeast. We thought we might have a chance of East Coast effects. That is not the case. We'll show you the European ensemble once again here. Most of these members, watch these big circles, big color circles, if you will. They continue to move off to the northeast. There were a couple off runs that had it potentially hooking into the northeast, which is what a storm in 2012 did, but that looks highly, highly unlikely at this point. No matter the case, this is going to be a historic, potentially devastating storm for Jamaica, eastern Cuba, potentially the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos. It's not like nobody's going to get out of this unscathed, even though the U.S. will only see coastal rip currents and high seas. This is going to be a bad storm for some folks in the Caribbean. We'll have daily updates on the YouTube and the TikTok and live streaming next week as it becomes warranted.